Hello, hello. I did not give anyone any notice that I was going to be going live here on Facebook. It was just more of I've been praying an awful lot. Oh, what the heck, is it recording or not? I'm sorry if you're watching right now, because I'm just got this really weird pop-up wanting me to change some settings while I'm recording. So welcome to the first live video. Maybe. So you all may have noticed, or maybe you're as crazy stressed as I am and haven't noticed my absence from social media. I was working very hard to establish a presence and, follow all the marketing steps and marketing tips. And I bought a website, and I think it's all very good. And it's all very much a full-time job, which so is parenting and being married and managing a home, and you get it. So I've been just asking the Lord. I can't get local Christian bookstores to pick up Cry of My Heart. I don't know why my calls go unreturned. If I'm not presenting myself correctly, I just don't know. And as I've said every time, my heart desire, the cry of my heart, is that mamas all across the world who have perhaps adopted children who were raised in a traumatic environment, or have adopted children who are in some way special needs that makes it harder for you to relate to your average mom, stepmoms. Sometimes we don't realize that when children go through a divorce, sure, it's hard on the parents, but it's a traumatic experience for kids. And then when that turns into the other parents remarrying, and you have the stepchildren situation, then you can have a lot of these similar behaviors. I have heard from some adoptive some stepmoms. Anyway, so here's what I'm going to do. I have a whole box of books that say Cry of My Heart, and I want everybody who needs one to have one, and I don't know at this point how to make it happen. And I told the Lord as much a couple of days ago. I was like, God, I really believe that you put in place all of the steps that I would need for writing and publishing a book that is unique in the book markets, because it's not a parenting book. Lord, you asked me to write this book, and I wrote it. I signed on the dotted line to the publisher, really not super confident. And here we are. God has used Cry of My Heart in some huge ways. And in the beginning of May, actually, I should mention that, May 1st, 2020, middle of COVID, I published my first ever book. And it did well for a while, and I still occasionally will get some Amazon orders. I'm certainly not going to get wealthy off from the sales. But I realized as I was approaching this 1-year mark, things just are not where I would like them to be. And so I said, okay, Lord, I could tell you what to do, but you're not going to do it. You're going to do what you're going to do. And I feel like I'm missing something. So would you please help me see what it is that you would have me to do? So as I still am homeschooling one child and needing to be available for her with schoolwork because of the severeness of her learning disability, I was not finding time to write. I speak some thoughts into a voice recorder, hoping one day to get blogs written, to get books written. And it's just really difficult right now. And yet I feel this same pull, push, tug to help you all to remember that you are not alone. And I don't just mean you are not alone because there are tons of trauma mamas out there trying to make it through every day. I'm talking about you are not alone because if Christ is in you, he is with you. And if Christ is in you, you are in him. And what a beautiful, beautiful place to go and try and rest rather than striving, failing. This parenting thing is hard whether you have trauma kids or not. So what I'm going to do starting today is work through Cry of My Heart live with all of you. I'm hoping that at some point y'all will be able to jump on and see that I'm there and rewatch videos that maybe you missed. But my goal is that every Wednesday that at approximately 11:30, you probably all know that's going to change. I want to read one meditation from Cry of My Heart. Today, because it's the first day, I feel like I want to share with you the preface. And then I will get into the week 1 reading. So here we go. There. Hello, whoever just came on. Thank you. Okay, Cry of My Heart. Preface. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. He who calls you is faithful and he will do it. Dandelions. I have always held a special place in my heart. I have fond memories of collecting dandelions by the bucketful so my mama could make up a batch of delightful yellow jelly that is bright as the sunshine and as sweet as, well, jelly. Sometimes my sister and I would collect big bunches and deliver them to our mama as a bouquet in a water glass. Mama always feigned pleasure and surprise over our gifts, even when the pickings were slim and the flowers more brown than yellow. The part about dandelions I have never understood is that they are considered weeds. Somebody has to explain weeds to me. No, maybe not. Though they are as bold and beautiful as the field of sunflowers, folks spend an awful lot of time and money to eradicate them. Once our neighbor scolded my dad for allowing me to pick dandelions that had gone to seed as I gently blew them into the wind. There's nothing quite as peaceful as watching those tiny poofs float through the sun's rays on a path toward a new home. Likely in the neighbor's yard, which is why he didn't like it. When I think about dandelions today, I still look forward to the beauty and a golden carpet that unfurls across our field. Just like when I was a little girl, I loved to watch the sun glisten through the seeds, making them all together a heavenly sight. It seems rare for me to find a kindred spirit regarding dandelions, but I figure God thinks they're beautiful, so his spirit can be my kindred spirit. I'm okay with that. Adoption is like a dandelion. Depending on your perspective, the unique disposition of an adoptive family may be beautiful, ugly, wonderful, awful, lovely, out of control, memorable, falling apart, or even all of the above. We are at all of the above right now in the Nagel household. Adoption stories differ in that each child comes to your home with unparalleled early life experiences. Adoption stories are the same in that, as research shows, when a child is removed from their primary attachment, for example, their biological mother, it impedes that child's mental, emotional, and even physical development. The more traumatic the separation, the more negative the developmental ramifications. Cry of my heart was born out of my desperate plea to the Father for answers. As I navigated the world of adoption, connecting with adoptive moms and heard their stories, my sense of helplessness only increased. Sharing my heartache with my husband, I said, "This just isn't right. We are surrounded by adoptive families who are falling apart at the seams because there is little understanding or support available. I don't know what to do, but I sense that I'm supposed to do something." Recruiting a precious sister in Christ, we committed to pray every day for 1 month and share what God revealed. At the end of the 31 days, the only thing either of us reported was pray. So that's exactly what I did, which, by the way, the 31 days was the month of March 2 years ago. So we're on day 31 of March as I read this. Writing down prayers that flowed out of my heart and sharing them with other adoptive moms became a sort of lifeline. When God didn't provide 7 action steps to ensure that your adoptive family is exactly as it should be, I was able to see my inadequacy. More than that, I became willing to accept God's call to total surrender. Total surrender is not a giving up on yourself or your family. It's releasing to your Father the cries held so deep in your heart you can't breathe. Much like releasing the seeds of a dandelion into the rays of sun on a summer day, surrendering your cries to the sun results in something beautiful. As with any other call from the Lord, His intention has always been to receive our openness to His will. Week 1. Did I hear that right? Isaiah 63, verse 16b. You, Lord, are our Father. Your name is our Redeemer from ancient times. It was a few minutes after yelling at my kids for the first time, and yes, it was the first time. They had finally moved into our home, although months before they had moved into our hearts. I was thrilled but anxious. For the agency to recommend us to the judge as adoptive parents, we needed to walk through 6 months of supervision, best behavior. We still had 5 months to go. So a wave of panic set in with the realization that the joyful shouts were no longer coming from the backyard. First, racing to each of their bedrooms, then I practically flew down the stairs into the playroom in our basement. No kids. Yanking open the back door and running toward the opposite side of the barn, there was a sight of bicycles, a jump rope, and a basketball. All items one would expect with children in the vicinity, but no kids. My shallow breath could barely whisper a prayer. Jesus. Then came the sound from a distance. It was a chorus of several children's voices, laughing and cheering. Peeking around the vast white pine, I saw them. All 3, not quite mine, children had met the neighbor children and joined in for some fun on their trampoline. My anger grew while marching toward the happy group, which, by the way, I tend to believe that anger is kind of like a secondary emotion. We don't like to feel helpless or powerless or worthless or whatever, so we get angry. And so in this case, fear was really what was there, but boy, was feeling mad so much better than feeling afraid. So my anger grew while I was marching toward the happy group, and I honestly don't know why. Most parents would have been so relieved that they would have joined in the fun. But that was not the case for me. I stopped at the edge of the trampoline, unable to speak, and it was clear to each of the children that I was furious. Although I don't remember exactly what was spoken at that moment, it went something like this. You need to get your little behinds back over where you belong. And what happened next is something I will never forget. And I want to back up a minute because it was more like this. You need to get your little behinds back over where you belong. See the difference? Not quite yelling, but yelling for sure. 3 frightened children ran back to our house and disappeared inside. While following them back, I tried to pull myself together to explain why they must always ask before leaving our yard. Once inside the house, the weight of my reaction hit me. All 3 kids were huddled together and trying to remain hidden under a bed. Their eyes were huge and their faces were frozen in fear. What must they have been thinking? Admittedly, that was not my finest hour as a new mother. From time to time, I still catch myself with a heavy heart, remembering that day and days after where I have failed to be the perfect mother. It's hard to know their story and not feel sad. It's also hard to know their story and cut myself a break when I get angry with them. After each meditation is a reflection, maybe an afterthought. And so the reflection for this week is, countless are the number of times I've checked in with the Lord to make sure I heard him correctly when we chose adoption. He has not changed. His answer has not changed. It's time to change my prayers from self-damning to God redeeming. Is it time for you to change your thinking as well? So before I read the prayer, I just want to say, I know you can relate. I know that you have said that's the last time I'm going to yell. I know that you have gone to bed shaming yourself, praying to God that he make you into a better mom. I know that you relive their poor choices, you relive your poor choices, and you take that weight all on you. I know that you do. So, stop it. Just kidding. Let's walk through this together. Christ is our life. Christ is our identity. Christ is our strength. So will you pray with me? Abba, Father, you have called and equipped me to love and nurture some of your deeply wounded kids. Help my mama heart to remember that truth when it feels like I misunderstood your voice. Teach me to lean into you through every moment of every day and see my children through your eyes. Amen. Now I would invite you to take some time to write down some cries of your heart. What are the cries that come out of your heart that you're afraid to say? Or you only say to God, what are your heart's cries? And when we log in next time, you could tell me the way that your heart's been crying. Or you can email me, or you can make a post on Facebook. You're not alone in this. Christ is with you. And if those children are with you, they're supposed to be. So lean into him. You are loved. Bye-bye.